We live in a time where safety and security and protection is more important than discomfort, growth, mental fortitude, and mental strength. And that's a problem. Look, I've worked in education for a long time. I've worked with kids. And you saw it in education. You saw teachers run to the rescue of so many kids if they experience any sort of bullying in their life. Just telling the kid, and then telling the kid to the authorities, whoever's in charge, and then run away and hide and let the adults deal with it. When I worked in education, I always encouraged the kids first to see if they could figure it out for themselves or stand up for themselves. And I would say things like, a kid would say, "This kid is bullying me." And I would say, what have you said back to them? What have you said to stand up for yourself? Because we need to learn to stand up for ourselves. Because guess what? The world sucks out there and people are rude. And so what are you going to do when there's no one to help you around? And they would look at me and say, I don't know. No one's ever really said that to me. And I would say, I want to encourage you to try to stand up for yourself by yourself. But I'll tell you what, I'll watch you stand up for yourself. And if things go wrong, I will jump in. But I want you to stand up for yourself first. And you would be surprised how many situations were just quickly dissolved after that kid stood up for themselves. I remember there was a time when I was in school with some kids, and this kid's younger sister was getting bullied by older boys. And he was just sitting there. And I pulled him aside and I said, "Hey, man, if my little sister, and I have two, were getting bullied by people in my grade, I would say something. I would do something. And I don't want to step in. I think this is your time to be not only the big brother, but stand up for your sister, stand up for your family, because that's important." And I told the kid, I said, I will be happy to jump in there and stop this because it's a nuisance and it needs to be stopped. But I think this is a time where you need to learn to be a man and stand up against these kids that are making fun of your little sister. And I said, if you can't do it, let me know, but I want to encourage you to do it first before I jump in. And the kid did. And he stood up for the kids, and the kids stopped picking on their sister. Yeah, Dad, you're encouraging violence. I'm not encouraging violence. I'm encouraging speaking to people, telling people, stop, don't do that anymore, or just ignoring them. We're so quick to jump to safety. We're so quick to jump to security. Anytime anyone makes fun of us, they're like, triggered. I can't take this anymore. I got to run. Some people say, Derek, how do you deal with the people that troll you constantly? And I just say, you just got to roll with it and just realize there's idiots out there, or just laugh at it. Because online bullying is totally different. You can't actually stand up for yourself. And if you just get in an argument with these people, they just fight back. They just continue down the street because they're hiding behind their avatar anyways. They're not even real people. They're real people typing, but they're not. Their personality they've developed through their trolling sphere. But I run into this story this morning of Emma Watson. We will be watching. More than 200 high-profile women demand big tech stop pandemic of online abuse against women and girls. Which is funny, not because it's women and girls, but I get a ton of online abuse, and I'm not a woman or a girl. And I'm also not a person who they later describe as the only people that apparently get attacked online, which is understandably laughable. I always tell people, if you have a hard time dealing with criticism, just start a conservative podcast and see where that goes. Because everyone's going to tell you what they think. Let's read the story. An open letter signed by more than 200 high-profile women called on social media platforms, Facebook, Google, TikTok, and Twitter, to take action when it comes to bullying and abuse. These people we have a culture that demands to be safe. They don't like the feeling of being unsafe. They don't like, that's why you're seeing more people push for communist, socialist ideas, because they want to have the security blanket of someone else. They don't like the idea of that you can do it, but you got to work for it. They don't like that. They just, give me the job. I have a degree. Give me the job. I have a master's degree. Don't make me work this customer service job and rise up in the company. I need this job now. Let's keep reading this article. These high-profile people include actress and activist Ashley Judd, of course, beautiful woman. It's all these beautiful people. Stop online bullying. Former beauty queen and tennis star Billie Jean King. I'm sorry. British actress Emma Watson. You're like, you guys are bullying the bullying people. Who's bullying you guys? No one? Okay. Address to Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg's blah, 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 saying, in the letter writes, we write to ask you urgently prioritize the safety of women on your platforms. And that will be incredibly triggering for any of these CEOs. We have a culture of children that are demanding censorship. Is there ever a time in history where censorship is good or it turns out to be good? Because these same people that are demanding censorship, you will be censored in the future of some way, somehow. Because you might actually have a thought that's different than what goes on in the minds of the leaders that you've appointed. That's why you see North Korean defectors. It's not all good when you just worry about censorship. As I did a video yesterday about the Communist Party and how the media was just fawning over the 100 years of just amazing, and they're just so strong and great people, and let's forget about the Wuhan lab leak and the potential of that, and COVID-19. We're gonna forget that part because, well, they pay us money. Let's keep going down this. Speaking on the Generation Equality Forum in Paris, which world leaders come together and agreed to a plan to advance women's rights, the letter described as the event as historic an opportunity. Here's an historic opportunity for you to make us safer. Social media sucks. All right? And the more censorship that goes on, the more it just gets milquetoast. And the more these companies will be like, why is no one engaging in our platforms anymore? Because it's not interesting. You got rid of all the people that are interesting. This is what happens when you, I'm not saying it's technically art, but it's what happens when you censor art. The art sucks after a while. The comments you make today should be seen as a promise to women and girls around the world that you will decisively deal with the abuse they are subject on your platform, the letter continues. According to the author, 38% of women globally have direct experience of online abuse. I'm going to say that probably about 100% of everyone has experienced some kind of online abuse. Because there's idiots out there. People... And those idiots' voices are louder on the internet than there have ever been on their life. But people read it. I do a lot of posting and ghosting, where you just post something and then you ghost away. And I occasionally read the comments, and even the troll ones make me laugh. But let's keep reading. This is so silly. With the figure rising to 45% of Gen Z and millennials, while the abuse is far worse for women of color, black women in particular, and women of LGBTQ community and other marginalized groups. It's right. White people, you don't experience, especially white men, online abuse. So shut your mouth. I experienced so much abuse. The other day, somebody called me a faggot yesterday online. I was like, is this even allowed to be said? But, typical leftists, very Nazi-like, fascist-like, just throwing out words that you can't say it, but I can say it. I get everyone is experiencing these things. The idea, and it's such a buzzword nowadays. It's like if anyone's experiencing any kind of oppression or inequality, or somebody just has something better, they just like lump everyone together. It's like women of color, black women in particular, women in the LGBTQ. It's like all these people that fit our demographic, they are experiencing abuse, but you white men, you've never experienced it. But then I'm going to switch it on them on this, because now we have Mumford Sons Winston Marshall talks decision to quit band after political backlash, a moral conundrum. The guitarist previously caught backlash enduring Andy No's controversial book, Unmasked. I don't call it controversial, but Fox News apparently thinks it's controversial. I want to apologize to Winston Marshall. I called you a coward because when you came out for Andy No's book and then you took it back and apologized, I called you a coward because that was a very cowardly act. I'm sick of these. I'm just tired of conservatives saying that they don't feel like they can speak up because of this. There will be a time where you won't be able to speak up anymore. I promise you. So speak up. But he came back and he quit the band over it and is speaking out. And so I just want to apologize to you because I think that is awesome. Because here in the conservative movement, here in the libertarian movement, we're very forgiving people. So, great. Welcome back. Mumford Sons founding member Winston Marshall is opening up about his decision to announce the exit of the band so he can speak freely about politics. And that is it. He was told to shut up. He was told to keep quiet. The things that you read that people were tweeting at him they were shouting out abuse, and they were actually telling him they were going to kill him. It's just like terrible things. But that's very typical of these people, right? Because all these liberals come out and say it's these conservatives that are actually dead. No, it's not. I promise you it's not. The most trolling things conservatives do is sometimes put a Trump meme up and people will lose their minds and they're like, oh my God, that's bullying. You don't get it. This guy experienced real bullying. The 33-year-old was well known to lead the guitarist and the banjo player of the band. Last month, he quit the band after sparking a social media storm in March by tweeting an admiration of Unmasked, a book for right-wing activist writer Andy No that attacked far-left militant groups collectively known as Antifa. He said, Marshall appeared on Bari Weiss honestly and described his emotions ahead of walking away from the band. Bloody terrified. Yeah, particularly in the last half an hour before I was very nervous, but I felt like it's gone, Marshall said. He added, I feel like I got my integrity back. Thank you. And you did, sir. And I feel like I got my soul back. I feel good now. This is why you don't need a letter to people for safety. Because when you stand up, you get your integrity back, you got your soul back, and you became... He's finally realizing he's the one. It's like the Matrix. He's finally realizing that he's a man, and he can take it. And it's a beautiful thing. And as somebody who... I enjoy people standing up for themselves. I enjoy people coming out of their shells and saying, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, go screw yourself. And that's how it should be. He said leaving the band is the hardest decision he can remember. He said it was a very difficult thing, but I didn't see another way out of this sort of moral conundrum that I found myself in. And so this felt like the right way forward. Right. It's a moral conundrum. Why can't I talk about Antifa's book and still be in the band? Why can't I come out against it? I mean, I feel sorry for the guy for, building this band and then having to quit, but he's coming out and speaking out against it. But this is what happens when you fight bullies. This is what happens when you fight against bullies. This is what happens when you stand up for yourself, is that you get vindicated and that you become greater than you were before. You come out of your shell. You're like a beautiful butterfly. But this is why we need to, instead of encouraging our generation of children to remain children, we need to encourage our generation of children to become adults. Stand up for yourselves. Ignore the online bullying. Or just delete it. Sometimes I'll just delete it. Sometimes I'll read something. I'll just delete it. Or I'll comment and say, wow, great point. You just commenting on my video shows me how insecure you really are. And then they think about it at home and then they'd stop talking to me. I had this one troll that would show up to my posts like every week. And he would say, he'd call me a faggot, he'd call me a maggot, which is like a slur. Which is funny because, again, you call me a maggot, you obviously don't watch my channel. But so I just started responding to him, just telling him like, dude, love you, awesome, thanks. And just like, appreciate the comment. And then I started saying like, I don't know what goes on in your mind, man, but you wake up every day waiting for me to post, and then you post a really like a hateful comment. And it just shows me the kind of insecure person you are. Maybe take a look at yourself. And I kept just copying and pasting that, and he eventually just stopped. So, and which is weird because on his profile it shows where he works and everything. And unlike, a lot of leftists, I didn't look up where he worked and wrote a bunch of Yelp reviews and tried to get him fired and all that stuff. I just said, no, the dude's an asshole. And I'm going to ignore him, and I'm going to treat him like one. So, what do you think? What do you think is the answer? What do you think? Is it stopping censoring people from cyberbullying, getting rid of people, counseling people for being a bully? Or is it just allowing bullies to be bullies? And then eventually they stop bullying because they realize how stupid and boring it gets. It's just like anybody that critiques stuff. It's like most people that critique stuff don't actually create anything or do anything that bring joy to another person's life or society or contribute in any way. They just critique. That's what we've built. We've built a bunch of kids of just critiquing stuff and want to be YouTube famous. Anyways, let me know your thoughts, guys. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning into the Derek O'Shea Show. It means so much to me that you do. I'm tired of this generation that screams bullying. And I'm not saying it's different. I'm just saying the only answer that is, it's not different than what I've experienced. And it is in some ways as a kid, but because I didn't have social media as a kid. But the only answer for most people is to just censor it. The only answer from most is to get rid of it, and then it's a problem. There's never people scream problem constantly, scream help, but they're never given any solutions. And I'm giving you a solution. Stand up for yourself, ignore it, fight back occasionally if you feel like you need to. But when it comes to cyberbullying, don't fight back. Just don't. Because they don't actually want to have a real person, real world conversation with you. They just want to stir up some emotion and get you going. They don't care. So ignore them or delete their comment. I don't know what makes them more angry. So you tell me. But let me know your thoughts. How do you deal with bullying? How do you deal with people disagreeing with you or people? And that's what, and let's just be honest too. That letter had a lot to do more with people disagreeing with how people do things and who they are and who they want to be, and people fighting, like jumping out against that, and they're calling that bullying too. So everything is bullying in today's world. If I just say I'm a dolphin and you say you're not a dolphin, I scream bullying. And that's how we are as a society in these days. You have to just affirm everything. But as we know, mentally, physically, if you just affirm people on everything, you're going to make really, really, really special people. Have a fantastic day. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode of The Derek O'Shea Show.